Hello, everyone, and today we are back, and we're doing part 2 of top 11 worst SpongeBob episodes. Okay, so let's get started. And number 7 is Stuck and the Ringer. Oh look, one of the writers is the person who brought us one course meal and a pal for Gary. 2 awful episodes. Okay, SpongeBob. Okay, starts with SpongeBob taking a shower and he drops the soap. Wow, another drop the soap joke. Come up with new jokes, writers. They can't even come up with original jokes. This joke was used and Gary takes a bath. Okay, after SpongeBob walks around naked. Okay, he trips on the soap and he lands in the bath. Then he trips on a rubber ducky and then he trips on the soap and gets him stuck in a ringer. Tries to get him out, but like any Final Destination movie, the lever breaks. The lever breaks, yeah, and it hits him in the eye. Yeah, great start. Then Patrick comes and says the rubber ducky he slipped on was his rubber ducky. So it makes me hate Patrick even more. SpongeBob tells him about the problem with forever glue. Puts forever glue and gets SpongeBob stuck more. What makes this even worse is this episode from season 7. Rangers makes Patrick an even bigger jerk. And in these seasons, it makes Patrick's a real jerk. After he gets stuck. After Patrick glues him, SpongeBob tries to get out. But he doesn't, so when he goes to work, so when SpongeBob goes to the Krusty Krab at work, we get a little bit of Squidward torture porns. Yeah, great start. Episode of the year. Okay. I yelled at the TV before, and I yelled at the TV before. I'm not gonna do it again. No. I'm not gonna do it again. No. I'm just gonna keep my calm. Hang on, wait. Okay. Okay, after a really uncomfortable close-up scene, SpongeBob and Squidward shipping was born. And he causes chaos in the Krusty Krab. Which causes Mr. Krab to send SpongeBob back home. And when he cries, Patrick says, "Calm down," and he puts a blow dryer in his face. Okay, and then he takes SpongeBob to eat ice cream. But that doesn't work because the ice cream gets stuck. Ice cream gets stuck. And he doesn't take SpongeBob to the hospital. Are you serious? Then they go to the fun fair and SpongeBob gets even more hurt with a black eye. He gets rolled around, and instead of Patrick looking for SpongeBob, he plays darts. And SpongeBob confronts him with some.
Well said. So SpongeBob finally tells Patrick.
So that makes Patrick cry. The thing that makes this even worse is that all the people in the park turn against him. Are you serious? After this happens, SpongeBob goes into a deep depression. And after SpongeBob can't live without, and after Patrick can't live without SpongeBob, he makes SpongeBob cry, and then ends with an awful line that says, "Well, I guess crying does fix your problems." This episode is bad. From the abuse in the final destination scenes, it is all bad. And the last line, well, I guess crying does solve your problems after all. That sucks. But this is just number 7. Number 6. Oops, wrong one. Okay. Number 6. Krusty Krushers. That is about when Mr. Krabs hears that whoever beats 2 meaty guys wins a million or a lot of money. He forces SpongeBob and Patrick to fight the big meaty guys. Mr. Krabs, you suck. Yeah, in the later seasons, he was still cheap, okay? Still cheap. But he still cared about his employees. Now he's sending his employees out to wrestle 2 big meaty guys. Just for lettuce. Just for the cabbage. Wow. Okay. Only thing funny in this story is Patrick's iron buns. That's it. This episode is bad, and I don't recommend it. This is awful. Don't watch it. But something that doesn't make this lower, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, is that Mr. Krabs gets his comeuppance. Because SpongeBob and Patrick choose wrestling camp instead of the money. Thank God. Number 5. That 5. Okay, dear. That's better. The pal for Gary. If you loved Squidward and SpongeBob torture porn, then you're gonna love Gary torture porn. This episode is about when SpongeBob leaves work. He feels guilty that he leaves Gary all at the house, even though he does this other times. Even though he does this in earlier episodes, okay? Oh yeah, this is the same person who brought us Stuck in the Wringer. I hate that episode. So, when SpongeBob goes back home, yeah, yes, he does that. He gets a pet, he buys, no, who am I kidding? He steals it from a woman. Even though she warns him that the pet he buys is dangerous. He names it Puffy Fluffy. Okay. They actually pay someone to do this. Okay. So in the night, it turns out that Puffy Fluffy is a monster and Gary has to survive for his life. And something that makes Gary's punishment even more worse, that SpongeBob's oblivious to this whole thing. The only thing that's good about this episode is the way SpongeBob says enchiladas. That's the only thing I do that for. The thing that makes this episode even more worse is that SpongeBob, by the end, is still on Puffy Fluffy's side. And this is part 2 of top 11 worst SpongeBob episodes. Make sure to be here by part 3. Bye, Squad.